So we left our project with the ability to write out to a file. What's more interesting here is to be able to write out an object. And if you remember, I can go back and open up. Let's see, I can say File, Open Project. I have that project, and you could do the similar thing here if you wanted to download the project that was out here. I have my GUI demo that I built before, and inside of my GUI demo, I have our person object out here. So I'm actually going to copy this person object, and I'm going to paste it over here. Just paste the copy over it. Let me make sure that. Oops, yeah, I forgot to change that. I should have said refactor copy. But let's see. Right. I can fix this real quick. WR. We got to remember the package name must match the folder in which it lives. So my person object is a first name, last name, and age. So let's say what I want to do here is I want to make a person object. Do it up top here. Okay. And patient P is equal to new person. All right, and so P has a set first name, Tony. P dot set last name, low. And P dot set age. Yes, I'm 29. Yes, we'll just leave it at that for now. I'm not actually ashamed of my age. I just don't want to have to update it as the years go by. So how do I write out this to a file? Well, there's not any specific requirements. I could write it out in any way I wanted to. But the key to writing it out is I have to write it out in such a way that I can easily read it back in if that's my desire. If all I want to do is print a report, write an email to somebody, the formatting doesn't really matter. I want to format it in such a way that it can be read by a person. But if I want to be able to read this back in, I need to be careful about how I do it. And so the most common way to do that is to use a delimited file. And I can delimit with any character out there. You might see space delimited files. You might see comma delimited files. You might see colon delimited files. It doesn't matter. The question is what delimiter you're going to use based off of what the text is allowed. We'll talk about this more next week when we go to reading files. But let's talk about writing this out for now. So what I would do to write this file out is I would start off, I'd probably write the first name first. So I say p dot get first name. And I would write that out. And then I'd say write some separator character. I'd probably make mine a comma. I'll throw a space inside of there just so it's a little bit easier for humans to read. Space doesn't necessarily make it any harder or easier to deal with. We can read it in just the same later on. And then I say out.write p.get last name. All right. And then I can say another comma inside of there. And then finally I'll say out.write p.get age. All right. So then I put a new line. So let's say I had 20 things as a print out. Well, each one would be on their own row. Each one would be on their own line. So I've had 20 people. Each one gets their own line. I have a file with 20 lines in it, 20 people. Pretty simple format. And so it's something as you're working on this, you probably want to consider how you write it out so that way you can read it in later on. All right, so given this, let's go ahead and run this file. Our person object's still there. And so if I go to the file structure, I look at people.txt, you can see Tony Lowe, comma, wait, there's no age out here. What happened to my age out here? Doesn't make any sense. Well, maybe my age is too young. What if I'm 40 years old? Does that make something different? Run it again. People.txt. Wait a minute. How is there a parenthesis? That doesn't make any sense. Let's try this again. 68. Let's try 68. It's a nice age. You're about retired at that point. People.txt. A D. That's kind of weird. Let's try it again with 69. E. That's really, really weird. Let me show you something interesting. Let's go 26 more than 69. So that'd be 75, 95. Let's do 95. Let's see what happens. A dash. Let's go 26 lower. Maybe I went the wrong way there. 69, so 60, 49... 40, 43. Let's see what that one. Oops. Yeah. 43. Let's see what that one does. Just to test it out. I just try to remember. Plus. All right. Well, I'm not remembering it properly anyway. What's happening here, actually, just to get through it, I'm just trying to give you some hints to try and figure it out your own. By the way, why am I trying to give you hints? Not because I want to see if you're clever, not that I want to see if you've seen it before. I want you to see how I would probably try and figure it out to see what's going on. It's a little bit of problem solving, but it's like, let's see what the behavior is inside of here, what different numbers do inside of there. I've actually done this sort of thing before. Because what's happening here is when I say write p.getAge, I'm writing an integer. And when I look at this one, and I look at the definition, it writes a single character as represented by an integer. So the single character as represented by an integer is the ASCII code for that character. So what we discovered is the ASCII code for the letters D, E, plus, underscore, these sorts of things. I thought there were 26 apart. Maybe it's not A through Z. I don't remember what the separation is. But anyway, that's what we have going on at this point. So what we want to do here is you're printing out a number. You can actually just print out a blank space plus the number. And this will print out, as we can see, 20 low 43. And I'm not 43 right now, but I might be someday when I teach this class. So that's a little bit of a gotcha moment. You got to be careful what data type you're writing out inside of here. You might just think you're printing out strings. Well, these are strings, but this is an integer. And you want to print out the number as a representation, not the character representation of that number. So just a little hint there on how to do this. But this is really pretty straightforward. This is how we can write to this stuff. This is how we can take this object and convert it into a string to be able to be read back in later on. And if you notice, no matter which person I'm putting out here, it's first name, comma, last name. And I can actually change my object around a little bit. I could say Anthony. Oops. There you go. Anthony there instead. Let me just do that real quick, my formal name. And again, it's the comma that tells me when this stops. It's not 4 characters. It's the comma that tells me when the first name stops. The comma that tells me when the last name stops. And then the number of the age that comes last. All right, so that's a good format for you to print stuff out. Again, you play with writing stuff out. Now play with writing stuff out a little bit formatted. And then the last step we'll have is to wrap this into a component, which then we can take and tie into our GUI application from before and be able to put this all together in something nice and clean and easier to use. So we'll jump on that next time.